Good morning. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you guys had a nice weekend. Everybody took care of themselves, no matter what you ended up doing over the weekend. Grateful to be here with you guys. And yeah, so let me adjust here because the lighting is a little funky. I don't really like it that much. That's a little better. A little better. All right, so again, like it says in the description, we are wrapping up our discussion of anger last week. I just want to tie it up in a nice little bow and make sure you guys don't have any questions about it. I think at the end, depending on how I feel when I get there, I might share one of my writing exercises, and then maybe you guys can share something. Maybe you can message the page. We'll see how we feel when we get there. But to start us off, let's refresh. Let's go back and think a little bit about anger in our lives in general. So, am I aware of anger in my life? Why or why not? Do you know that you have anger in your life, or maybe it's manifesting as something else? That can be a thing. It can come across as sadness or anxiousness or depression, especially like we've talked about before, if you're turning that anger inward and not directing it at its proper destination where it needs to go, which is at your abuser or those who have enabled the abuse in your life. So do you know like what makes you angry? Do you know some of the triggers for your anger? Do you know what it looks like to have anger in your life? Have you thought about it and broken it down before? Because those are really important things to kind of reflect on within yourself. You want to really take a step back and not take the emotion out of it, but just get a little bit of a broader perspective on what's going on. You want to still stay connected to your emotions, but don't let your emotions control you. You have to understand where your emotions coming from. You have to sometimes check them and make sure that you're not carrying somebody else's emotions, because as trauma survivors, as sexual abuse survivors, we can sometimes have a tendency, a lot of us, from what I've read and from my personal experiences, of becoming very empathetic people, and we want to help. My little Pomchi is not happy this morning. Samson. We want to carry other people's feelings and try to fix things and make things better, which can be good. Oh, the neighbor dogs are up. No, Daisy, no. Crazy dogs, sorry about that. What do I like about the ways I deal with anger? What would I like to change? Daisy. So let's think about that. You can actually learn to appreciate your anger. Maybe there's something, even if there's just one thing that you can appreciate about your anger or the way that you handle your anger. Try to find it and then think about the ways that you want to change. So try to think about something positive that you can continue to do or grow, and then think about what you would like to change. So like I like the fact that I like the fact that I'm cautious. I can sometimes be overly cautious, but not to take away. Sorry, hold on. There are plenty for all of you. Sorry about that. Dogs are feisty this morning. I love them. I'm very cautious with my anger, so I think that is a good thing. It's definitely a learned survival technique, but it's something that I think is good, to a degree. So the things that I would like to change, or I like to be able to change the ways that I express anger. I think I've talked about this before earlier in the chapter of like, I tend to hide away. I tend to cry, and sometimes, like, if I'm feeling safe with the person that I'm around, sometimes I will scream at my significant other, at my husband, and maybe the anger isn't directed at him, and so that's very hurtful, especially to somebody that you might be arguing with or not completely agreeing on something, and then it like triggers something else, and you end up screaming at the person that you love the most in the whole world, and so that's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. And sorry if I'm moving fast through this. I want you guys to know this is kind of getting towards the end of the chapter, like I said, and I want to wrap it up in a nice little bow because we did have some votes on another topic that I really want to talk about, which I don't know that it'll take as long as this anger chapter did. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I just wanted to throw that in there. So again, try to find something that you like about yourself and how you deal with anger, and then find the ways that you want to change. I also said that I want to be able to, paint, draw. I gave specific examples of how I want to express my anger rather than get anxious or cry or scream. Can I imagine anger as a positive healing force in my life? Why or why not? What do you think? Can you use this burning anger that resides inside of you? So I know it's there for me. It is very much there for me. Can you use that as something good? Can you turn that into something beautiful? What do you think? What are your ideas? If you could do anything in the world, nothing was going to hold you back, no money, no law, no nothing, what would you do with your anger to make a difference in the world? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested. Under what circumstances could anger be productive? So what could you do? Just asking you there. And I personally said, yes, I can. I 100% can use my anger. I can not only imagine, I've actually taken action into using my anger as a positive healing force in my life, because it's keeping me driven to continue to heal. The more I feel that anger, the more I go, ooh, need to get my workbook out and do some, work on my anger, and it reminds me that I can be better. I'm awesome as I am, but the beauty about life is that we can always grow. I am such a learner. I always have, from the time I was born. I've just wanted to learn, and I want to learn every single thing I can learn about the things that I've gone through and how it affected me and how I can learn from it and how I was changed from it for the good and the bad and all of the things about it. I just want to learn. So that's what excites me about it, is I can learn so much from it and learn how to help people. And so yes, I can use it for a positive. I can use it to help me continue to grow and heal, and I can use it to help others. I've used it to get the courage as a very shy, mostly introverted person to start this group and reach out to people that were like me and have survived not the same things, but very, we're one, is what I'm trying to say. So yes, I personally believe my anger can be used for positive, and it can be used to continue to drive my healing and to help others. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Hi, thank you so much for watching. So the last little bit of this, now that I have gone off on my tangent, is fear of anger. And that's what really kept my anger buried deep down inside. I was so scared of what I looked like when I was angry, what I would do, what I wouldn't be able to control, the consequences of it. First and foremost, the major thing is I never felt safe enough to express my anger. So now, even when I am safe, it still scares me sometimes. There's still some fear there. So fear of anger is one of the main things that stops survivors from feeling their anger, and they push it down and push it down and push it down. Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for watching. And so you feel scared. And if anger is something that you're scared of, and that's something you can relate to, let's work through these questions real quick. If I got in touch with my anger, I'm afraid I would. And so, like I said, I can relate to this for sure. So I am afraid I will constantly be angry. That's what I was afraid of when I first started this anger work, is like, I'm afraid that if I let it out and I unleash that within inside of me, because I've been pushing it down for so long, that I would be so scared that I would just always be angry, and I would just get fixated on the anger. And I was also afraid that I would do something irrational. My abuser was very physically abusive also, especially in the later parts of my life. And the older I got, the more physically abusive my situation became. So I was afraid, especially at first, that I wouldn't have good control of myself, and that I would do something irrational, like confront my abuser, who, like I said, has been very, very physically abusive, and kind of known for that. That's a very short fuse. So I can't get angry because what is holding you back from getting angry? What is the real reason that you have it locked in there? I personally said that the person I'm truly angry at isn't around. That's what kind of, I think, keeps it mostly locked inside, is I don't want to express that to people that don't deserve it. I want to direct it at my abuser. And so not having, thank goodness, and I'm so grateful for the fact that that person is no longer anywhere near my life, He's still in a loved one's life, but pray for that loved one every day. He's not in my life directly anymore. I'm very grateful for that. But it makes it harder to direct the anger at somebody that isn't around, that can't receive it. And I am, let me see here. So I was also afraid that I would get angry at others that I'm trying to maintain some kind of relationship with. So specifically my mother. Like I have a relationship with my mom still, and there are times when my anger, I unleash a little bit, or I'll get triggered by something, and maybe I've had therapy that day where I've like been snappy and short with my mom. And while those things are in the past, I'm still currently working through them, which is hard for people to understand, especially like your mother who wants you to be fine and be healthy, and you know, people on the outside have always kind of noticed, want you to heal faster and want it to be like this really quick thing, when most of the time that's just not realistic, and that's not how it works. Healing is very slow and steady process, and it is not linear, and it goes in cycles, and things can come back around, and it can be crazy. So I was afraid of that as well. So the important thing to remember is when you look at these fears and you are feeling enraged, and it's just not the same as acting out of rage. You can feel enraged, and you can like feel the fire burning inside of you, but you don't have to act on that rage. That's the most important part. Sir, you need to calm down. Calm it. Calm. Calm. Good boy. Good boy. They're wild this morning. All right, so you can fantasize about, specifically in here, it says you can fantasize about ripping your abuser limb from limb. It's a good fantasy. But you don't actually have to act on that. So this is where the beauty of the writing exercises is. This is really the core of it here, is taking that anger and being able to, Daisy, being able to direct it at your abuser, even if they're not, hopefully they're not in your life anymore. And so you can still take that anger and actively direct it at that person and still not have to be face to face with them, not even have to have contact with them, not have to be anywhere near them or anything like that. So the important thing is to know the difference between anger and violence, and imagine being nonviolent. Hang on one second. I'm so sorry. If you don't quit, you're going to have to go to bed, okay? You're going to have to go to bed. You're going to need to stop. No more. Crazy dogs. They're fighting over a toy. So, do you know the difference between anger and violence? Because there's a good difference. I feel like anger is a feeling and violence is an action. Which made sense in my mind. I hope that makes sense to you. If not, give me your, I don't want a textbook definition. I can do that. I can Google. But what do you think the difference between anger and violence is? I feel like anger is a feeling and violence is an action. I can personally imagine nonviolent anger. I can see what that looks like, and it's the things that I've listed before: the screaming, the punching a pillow, running really hard and hitting that pavement very hard, kicking a bag, or your mat, whatever you want to kick, I guess. It's not people or animals or anything like that. Nothing living. Is violence ever justified? Why or why not? It's an interesting question. I feel like self-defense is justified, in my personal opinion, even when it leads or results in violence. If somebody's beating you, personally, I feel like you should be able to beat them back. It's a personal opinion. You can write it in your journal, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, but you can feel free. Again, so those are just some questions to ask yourself. Are my fears about anger realistic? Why or why not? What do you think? I think that this can change. This answer can change depending on where you are in your healing journey. Like if I was still being abused, my fears about anger would totally be realistic, because acting out of anger can lead to some severe consequences. But as it is right now in my life, no, they are not realistic. They are learned, but they are not realistic because I am in control of my emotions. And my emotions are not in control of me anymore. I don't have to be worried about if I act out in anger, I'm going to be abused, or I'm not going to be able to sleep in the home where I've been living, or the house where I've been living with my sister, and then I won't know what's happening to her. Like all that, I was controlled by my emotions while I was being abused, because it was a survival tactic. It was how I was surviving from day to day. But that's not my reality anymore, thank gosh. And that's a beautiful thing. So what keeps me from getting angry, from controlling my anger? I think what keeps me from getting angry, and sometimes it's not a good thing, sometimes you need to feel that anger, but you still need to be aware of what is keeping you from getting angry. What is keeping you from controlling your anger? So those are two different things. So what is keeping you from getting angry? And then if you are able to get angry, or when you do get angry, what is keeping you from controlling your anger? If you have trouble controlling your anger. Some of us have trouble, like a lot of trouble, getting angry, and maybe you don't at all have a problem controlling your anger. And that's totally okay. That's awesome. I love that. But some of us do have a little bit of a problem controlling their anger. I sometimes do have a problem controlling my anger. I keep myself from getting angry by keeping busy, and I identify it as something else. I'll identify it as feeling sad or depressed or something, because I tend to cry, because I tend to shell up, and I've learned to express it in different ways. I've learned to express it as sadness, and it's not necessarily sadness or anxiety really at the root of it. It's like frustration or rage or whatever other anger emotion you want to throw out there. It's probably what I'm actually feeling and not the sadness. It's just that strong habit of keeping it inside. And so, like I said, I don't have that hard of a time anymore. I don't think of like getting it out, but I do still struggle with it sometimes. Controlling my anger, when I do let it out, sometimes I still have issues controlling how it manifests. It still wants to sometimes come out as anxiousness. So I really have to sit there and dissect it and understand, am I anxious or am I angry? Let me know if you relate to that. If you relate to maybe expressing your anger in different ways, and you learn that through your trauma. What keeps me from directing my anger at the abuser? What do you think? What keeps you from directing your anger at your abuser rather than like yourself or your partner or the world or whoever else might be getting the brunt of that? For me, the difficulty I have is getting it out in general, or letting it out, especially when I first started this chapter. I was having the hardest time, and I had the habit of turning it inward, and if I wasn't turning it inward, I would be projecting it onto somebody else. I just had these thoughts that hurt people. And I don't like that. I don't know. I guess that's what keeps, I just don't want that for I didn't want to hurt anybody, I feel like, because I didn't want to be the hurt person. But I have been the hurt person. And I am still going through this healing journey, so I am sometimes still the hurt person. I still have that inner child who is like dying for somebody to bust down his door and, take him to jail and do those things. So that's where the writing exercises can really, really help, is getting that anger out and directing it at an abuser, anybody's abuser, or even better, your abuser. But the beauty of this workbook is that it kind of takes it slow. And so it actually starts, the first writing exercise in this chapter is one where you don't have to confront your abuser just yet. You take it slow. The first step is that you get angry at somebody else's abuser. It's really angry. It's really easy to feel angry at somebody else's abuser, especially if you can picture a child in your mind and you can picture them being abused, maybe how you were abused, and you see that and you can protect that child that's not yourself. It's sometimes easier to want to protect others than it is to want to protect ourselves, but we'll learn that. We'll learn that we are important and we can be the saviors that we needed when we were children, and we can, through writing exercise and meditation and understanding our feelings and taking our time to understand our feelings and taking our time to do the self-care, you can learn and you can show your inner child that you can be the savior that you needed. And it's such a beautiful thing. But to start off, let's see. So If you can't get angry on your own behalf, you may be able to get angry on someone else's. In the writing exercise, understanding that it wasn't your fault was a previous one. You were blah blah blah. This is the beginning of it. So if you are interested in this and you have the ability to, you feel like you have a good support system, or that you have a really good honing in on your coping mechanisms and your coping skills of like deep breathing and grounding and mindfulness and practicing being in the present, and can pull yourself out of an anxious state or an angry state, or pull yourself out of a panic attack. These writing exercises are meant to bring up emotions. So I want to warn you about that before you start, especially if you are not actively in therapy or you don't really have that good of a support system. Maybe you can reach out to somebody in this group if you feel safe enough. And if you don't yet, maybe you can eventually. But that's the beauty of these very specific private groups, not so much the big, broad ones where there's thousands of people in there, but in this particular thing, we know that we've been through a lot of the same things, or trying to work through a lot of the same things, and we can be gentle with one another, and we can really listen and care for one another. And so maybe we can be even more and really lean on each other and be a support group. So we can explore that at another time, but if you feel comfortable, I'm going to read the writing exercise, and I'll let you make the determination whether or not you think it's right for you to do it. So think about the child. Think about a child that you know was around the same age you were when you were first abused, and write to that child explaining why she or he wasn't to blame for the abuse. And so you can take it a step further than that, and also think about the things that happened to you are happening to that child. And think about the person who is abusing the child. Picture that person in your mind. Knowing what the abuser is doing is saying to that child, how do you feel? What would you like to say to the abuser? What would you want to do to the abuser? What sort of revenge would you like to exact? So you set your timer for like 15 to 20 minutes, and you just start writing. Don't judge yourself on what you're writing. This is a free write. This is free writing. You are free to do whatever you want. Writing cannot hurt anybody. You can't kill somebody writing words on a page. That's the difference between anger and violence. Anger is a feeling and violence is an action. You can get your anger out of your body through hand motions and pen to paper. And it sounds crazy, and it may not work the first time. It may not work for you at all, but somebody out there maybe hasn't tried this yet, and it might work for them. It worked for me, and I've been a journaler my entire life. I've always loved to write, to journal, all of it. But I didn't think that writing about my anger would help me get over what I've been through as much as it has. I'm always be healing. I will always be on my healing journey. But this has been really one of the more life-changing, perspective-changing exercises. This workbook in general, but these writing exercises, especially the anger writing exercises, they've been really life-changing. So wrapping it up, again, we have just a few minutes. I think I'm going a little past, but I started a little late. So this is free writing. Don't judge yourself. Do not be hard on yourself. Set your timer for 15 to 20 minutes and just put your pen to paper. Don't pick it up. Don't think about it. Just let words come to you. And again, so reading the questions, picture that little child in your mind and telling him and explaining to him why he or she wasn't to blame for their abuse, also think about the person who is abusing the child. Picture that person in your mind. It doesn't have to be your abuser specifically at this time. It can be anybody, any person that might abuse a child. And knowing what that abuser is saying and doing, because they tend to act a lot the same. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? What would you like to say to the abuser? What would you want to do to the abuser? What sort of revenge would you like to exact? That's writing exercise number 1. And so once you've been able to get angry at another child's abuser, you're more likely to be able to transfer some of that anger that you've just tapped into your abuser. So you're able to take that anger that's built up, that you got out on that paper, and you can take it and direct it right at your abuser. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful, even though it's just writing. So imagine yourself as a child, whatever age you were, maybe when the abuse first started, or if it's only happened to you 1 time or 2 times. Just think about what age you were when it affected you the most. And think about what was done to you. Think about what you were forced to do. Consider the losses in your life. Think about all the things you had to give up or weren't able to experience. Think about the missed opportunities, the wasted years, the struggle to heal today. And then pick one person, because likely if you've been abused, the chances that you'll be abused again are pretty high statistically, unfortunately. So like I've been abused by multiple people, and then the people that enabled the abuse are also abusers. And abuse can be not just sexual but physical, and abuse by neglect and things like that. So, but for now we're picking one, the worst one, the one that affected you the most. And you are picking one person as the target of your anger. The abuser is someone who didn't protect you. Write a letter to that person and start with the words, "I am angry at you," or "I hate you." Set your timer for 20 minutes and don't hold back. Let it go. Let it out on that paper. Take all of your anger, even if you're pressing so hard into the paper with your pen that you're ripping the paper. Let it out onto that paper. It feels so good. It really does. It feels amazing. So I'm not going to share my writing exercise with you right now, because I feel like just in case somebody has continued watching the video, but who might not have the best support system, who might not be in therapy right now, even just asking the questions and kind of getting your mind going about those questions can be a little triggering. So I don't want to add to that. I hope one day to be able to share that with you. But for now, I'm just going to leave it there. Plus, we're out of time. So I hope you guys have a great day. I am so grateful that you guys have hung in there with me through this anger discussion. You guys have been champs. Thank you to everybody who voted on what we want to talk about. If we didn't talk about what you voted on today, please do not be offended. I am going to start talking about those things tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, 7:30, I'll be back with you. Please have a great day. Happy Veterans Day. Celebrating my husband extra today because he's an Army vet. So thank you to anybody out there who maybe you're a veteran, maybe your friends or family or somebody they know is. Thank a veteran today. Take care. If you're in the United States, I guess. I don't know if they celebrate. I don't know. Anyway. Have a great day. You are worthy, you are beautiful, you are strong, and thank you for being here with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow.